Hey guys, Yuvraj here from the Brainstorm Force team, makers of Astra for WordPress. And this is your first look, sneak peek, behind the scenes look at WordPress 5.9. Now, when I say behind the scenes, I say it specifically because WordPress 5.9 is not out yet. It's set to release on 25th of January this year, so still a few weeks away from the date of this recording. But I'm making this video right now specifically because two reasons. First, the RC1 is out. That means the release candidate is out. So you kind of have a preview of what the final release will look like. And the second reason is because it actually causes a lot of confusions whether you should be updating or not. And this time it's not a matter of yes, no, just wait. It's a little more complicated than that because of all the features that are coming to WordPress 5.9. And that's why I'm making this video just a few weeks in advance, so that you have enough time to understand what the changes are, prepare for them, and also decide if it is worth it for you to update right now and what are the implications you'll have when you decide to update or not to update. So let's talk about all the interesting things that are coming to WordPress 5.9. So talking about all the improvements that are coming to WordPress 5.9, there are plenty of improvements. Let me just point some of those out. The first interesting improvement is that you'll have a lot of performance improvements or performance enhancements. We won't be talking about a lot of those in this video particularly, but we might do follow-up videos on that. The second interesting thing is UI and UX improvements across the board. Now, we'll be talking about some of these improvements right now in this video, but there are plenty of changes, or there are too many changes to cover in a single video. So make sure you subscribe, and we'll be doing more follow-up videos as we see more and more updates or discover more interesting updates or interesting, I'd say, features, improvements in the UI and UX of WordPress 5.9. The next is integration of the pattern library. In a different way, it was already integrated, so we'll talk about that as well. We have new theme blocks that are present in WordPress 5.9, and this is a big one, so we'll be spending a little bit of time talking about all the interesting new theme blocks that we have. And then last and not the least, we'll be talking about all the interesting full site editing features that are coming to WordPress 5.9. This includes a bunch of features in itself. So we have the block themes interface, block themes flows, the new default block theme. You have the styles interface, new design tools. You have navigation blocks and other blocks that make it possible for you to have a full site editing experience in WordPress 5.9. Now, technically, WordPress 5.8 also had some of these features, but this has been, I'd say, a lot more refined in 5.9. And I'll also tell you why you probably can't be using, or probably won't be able to use, most of these FSE related features if you already have an existing WordPress website. Yes, that is what the confusion is about, and that is why the video is being made. So make sure to watch the video till the end so that you have a complete picture of why you should be paying attention to WordPress 5.9 and what are the changes that are coming that can change your workflow, make or break your workflow, or maybe have implications on your existing website or future projects if you are a website maker, and coming to WordPress 5.9. So let's begin with finally looking at some of the features in WordPress 5.9. I'll switch over to my computer right now, and we'll talk about those features in a lot more detail. So we are on my computer right now, and what I've done is set up two different websites side by side so that if I have to compare 5.8 with 5.9 experience, I have an easy access to those sites. And you can probably navigate or see this is the 5.8 version and this is the 5.9 version. So if you see the admin bar, it's easy to differentiate which site am I looking at. And of course, I'll be mentioning that as we go along in the video as well. So let's start with the first important thing is the UI and UX improvements and what are those changes inside WordPress 5.9. I'll open up a page right now and we'll talk about that in detail. All right, so I've created a set of pages on WordPress 5.9 and 5.8. This is the 5.8 version. This is the 5.9 version. Now you might notice a little bit of typography and color changes because I have different themes installed. On the 5.8 version, I have the Astra theme installed, and on 5.9 right here, I have the default 2022 theme installed. You'll understand why I did that once we go into the features a little bit. So let's start with the UI UX improvements. As I mentioned, we won't be going into every little feature, but I'll just highlight the most important features that I think will make a lot of difference to the workflow of designing pages, modifying pages, and just customizing pages in general. All right. So the most important UI UX improvement has been done in the list view. Now, this is the typical 5.8 list view. It's pretty useful. Before that, this was a pain in the you-know-where to actually move things around or to visualize your page or how it appears. And this, I'd say, was a decent improvement to the page builder experience, at least in the Gutenberg or the block editor. But now you see even more improvements. Let me switch to 5.9. And if I open up the list view here, you see it looks similar, but it has a lot of improvements. The first thing you'll notice is this small snippet right here. And what is happening is whenever you have an HTML, I'd say anchor added, for example, you can see right here, the HTML anchor actually shows up right next to that element. So it makes quick and easy to navigate to certain elements, just notice where the things are, and just makes a big improvement to your life. And the second improvement thing, or I'd say the bigger change, is collapsibility. And now you can just do this, and you can just collapse all the blocks on your page and just have a visual experience to understand how your page is built. This is, I think, the biggest change and improvement I can see here. And I'd say one more important feature update to the UI UX is drag and drop. And I've noticed, or I've covered drag and drop when it actually appeared in the Gutenberg plugin in 11.9, I believe. And how it works is, let's say, for example, I have this group block, I have this cover block right here. Let me click. So this is the cover block. And let's say I want to move the cover block above the group block, above, or I'd say just below this cover block. Now, if you were here, then this would be just copying, pasting, cutting blocks together, and then moving things around. This complicated stuff. But now what you can do is this and instantly do this. And now the cover block is actually inside the cover block. But what I wanted to do was something like this. Oops, I'll just move it around here. So I was glitching a little bit, but I finally managed to move the cover block right here. It's a little bit tricky still to understand. But now you can see the cover block is just above the second cover block. So drag and drop is now here. And of course, it applies, or it works inside as well. So you want to move headings around, you want to move paragraphs around. Let's say social icons. If I just move this around here, everything moves very quick and easy. And this just makes a big difference to page building experience and just moving things around, which I think one of the weak points in the Gutenberg or the block editor. So that's one of the improvements that happened, and I think it's a major one. And the next set of improvements is around the blocks themselves. So what I'll do is I'll just add a sample button block just to give you an example of what the improvements are here. So I've added a button to the 5.8 version of my website and also the 5.9 version of my website. And I'll show you the differences, what you will notice across the board, not just the button block. I'm just using the button block as an example. And you'll start seeing a lot of, I'd say, customization options inside blocks themselves when you start using WordPress 5.9. So let me click the button block right here. And if you see, or I click the parent button block, I just have a couple of options here to transform or just make a little bit of changes. But if I do the same thing on 5.9, and now you'll see a lot different options. So you have justification options right here. So you can justify, or I say align your buttons based on what you like. And you also have orientation options. So you can make sure that the buttons are aligned horizontally or vertically. So you can just add buttons in a single row or top of each other. So this is just one simple change. But if you also click the actual button itself, for example, if I click right here, you see familiar options right here. For some reason, my WordPress is glitching, so you might not see some outlines here. But you have some button options. You have button styles, you have the default style, typography options a little bit, and the border settings, the color settings, and the width settings. Basic stuff, you're probably used to seeing this in the button block and also other blocks as well. But if you do this for 5.9, you might start seeing some other interesting updates. So you have fill and outline, which is the normal one. And you also have the color options. Now, color options are already present here as well, but you can see the color options right here. This look like this, or the color options in WordPress 5.8 look like this, but in 5.9, this is going to be drastically different. And I'll do a more follow-up on the color options when we go into the FSE features, but let me just show you the difference right here. If you click the color option right here, you see theme and default, and you have background color and other changes. And most of the blocks that use color, you will see this experience right here. Now, what this theme blocks or theme colors mean, default color mean, we'll get to that when we explore FSE in a lot more detail, probably the second half of this video. But right now, what I want to highlight is that you have a lot more options when you're customizing your buttons. And of course, any other block that uses the color options, you will see similar options there as well. And you also have the, I'd say, a little more nuanced way of handling border radius and other things, and also the width and typography also. This is one thing that is new to WordPress 5.9. Now here, you already had the typography options. Let me just switch this. So you see typography options, you have the font size. Now, one thing that WordPress developers did was they didn't want to complicate all the blocks with a nuance of features. And one thing that they came up with was just hiding features in plain sight. Well, that's the word I use. And what they've done is include this plus icon with many of the options that you see in blocks. And what this means is that the option that you see just right below is the default options, or is the option that they believe, or the WordPress developers believe, most people will use. But if you click the plus icon right here, and this applies to a lot of other blocks as well, you'll see additional options that you can add to the typography options. For example, I can now click font family, and I'll also see the font family option in the typography options as well. So you'll notice this pattern a lot throughout any of the blocks that you customize. If you notice the plus icon, make sure to click it, and probably you will find some additional settings that you were not aware that were present in WordPress, or specifically that block. And if you didn't want to use this, you click the three-dot menu, reset all, and it goes away. And now you also have the padding option. So this is something that you'll notice a lot. You have enhanced spacing controls now. So you'll see padding, margin options throughout most of your blocks, which will make it very easy for you to space blocks, I'd say, in a more better manner throughout your website, which was usually a little bit of a problem, because you had to use spacer blocks and you would do some kind of CSS trickery to make sure the blocks were aligned perfectly. And this is just I'd say, a couple of improvements. And the more blocks you explore, the more interesting options you'll start noticing. So if you go to the paragraph block, you go to any other blocks, you'll start noticing all these improvements throughout the board in UI and UX. All right, let's talk about the next interesting improvement in WordPress 5.9, and that is the inclusion, or better inclusion, of the pattern library in WordPress 5.9. Now, if you didn't know what WordPress or the pattern library actually is, it's actually a library similar to the theme library or the plugin library that WordPress actually started. I'll leave a link down in the description to the actual pattern library, which you see on the screen right here. And it's just a collection of pre-built blocks, which is called patterns. And what you can do is just copy and paste any of these from the pattern library to your website. Now, technically, you already had the integration of the pattern library in WordPress 5.8. This is 5.8. If you just went here and you say, hey, I want to add a pattern here, you have the option of searching for a pattern. Let's say for gallery, I want to add a gallery. I had this interface right here where I could just click, and the actual pattern would be added to my website. But this was a little bit limited, because it was not easy to understand how the website or the pattern will actually look like. But 5.9 actually improves upon this experience. If you go right here and you go to patterns, you have this new featured or the explore option right here. And when you click the explore option, what happens is it actually opens up, it actually opens up the pattern library in a model interface, and it makes it much easier to navigate the patterns directly. And also just click and just add anything onto your screen right here. And you have a bunch of patterns already coming up, and I'd assume that more and more patterns will be added as time goes by. So you have featured, you have footers, headers, the query loop. That means if you want to customize the query loop, pages, buttons, columns, gallery, and text-based blocks. Plenty of blocks coming up. And this is just an interesting way to build websites natively through WordPress without going to third-party plugins. But I'd say right now the pattern library is still limited. So maybe just check it out. And if you like something, definitely you can use it on your website. And this is a welcome interface, or easy to use interface, in WordPress 5.9, addition of the pattern library in a better way. All right, let's talk about the next set of features inside WordPress 5.9 that make a big difference. And that's all the new theme blocks. Now, if you didn't know what theme blocks were, let me give you an example. This is the 5.8 version right now, which is open. If I go right here on the blocks, or I say the blocks collection, whatever it's called, if I scroll down and went to the theme section, you had all these interesting blocks that pulled in dynamic data from your website. So you had the query loop, which was introduced in WordPress 5.8. You had the post title, the post content, post date, and overall, I'd say 8 different theme blocks that you could add to your website to just showcase dynamic data. And this section is the biggest improvement, according to me, for WordPress 5.9. If I go to WordPress 5.9, this is set up right here, and I go to the themes option right here, you'll see, oh, so many different blocks now. You have the navigation block, which is huge. I'll explore this in a lot more detail when we talk about the FSE related features. So stay tuned for that. The site logo, site title, and overall, I'd say around 20 different blocks that you can now use with your theme. So just giving you an idea, you have the navigation block, site logo, site title, tagline, query loop, which is improved now, by the way, post list, post title, post excerpt, featured image, content, author, post date, categories, and all this good stuff. And from whatever I've seen, the team promised that you will have at least 30 different blocks right here. So more control is coming, and you can actually just pull in dynamic data throughout your website and just post it anywhere. And these features, I'd say, make a lot more sense, or they are much more powerful in an FSE context, which I'll talk about definitely when we cover just the basics. And we'll cover a lot of that and talk about why this is important. So right now, just the big difference is you had all these blocks right here, but now you have a big set of blocks which you can just add to your website anyway and just pull in dynamic data. For example, you want to show your comments in the middle of the post, definitely you can do that. You want to just maybe show the post title somewhere else on the page, definitely you can do that. And all the other good stuff is now possible in WordPress 5.9, including some of the interesting things. The navigation block is a huge, big difference, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. All right, so we've explored most of the interesting updates in WordPress 5.9, the general ones at least, and now it's come time to go on to the more controversial update, or I'd say a little bit confusing update, which is the FSE related features. Now, FSE, if you didn't know, it was introduced, or the basic features were introduced in WordPress 5.8, and FSE stands for full site editing. That means WordPress is bringing in the capabilities to completely create everything you want right inside the block editor. That means your headers, footers, the page structures, different kinds of pages, templates, everything inside the Gutenberg block editor. And that sounds a good thing, like a good thing, and it is, but there is some sort of, I'd say, a disclaimer that you need to understand before you actually start implementing or using it right from the get-go. So what I've done is I just opened up the basic dashboard. This is WordPress 5.8. You can see right here. And I've just opened the dashboard on WordPress 5.9 as well. And I want you to pay attention to the screen and notice something different. I'll keep switching between the tabs for a few seconds and tell me if you notice something important. So this is 5.8 and this is 5.9. 5.8 and 5.9. 5.8 and again 5.9. And what I'll do is just place them side by side. There's no confusion what I'm talking about. In WordPress 5.8, the most important things that you use to customize your website was in the appearance menu. Once you install the theme, you install anything, you went into one of these settings. Maybe you went into the menu section to create your menus. Maybe you went into the widgets to customize widgets. Technically, widgets are now blocks, so not very much helpful here. But most importantly, you went into the customizer to do everything that your theme option or theme gave you the options to customize. You customize your site logos, you added favicons, you added or customized the headers or customized the menu locations. Everything was done in the customizer. But with WordPress 5.9, everything is coming to the Gutenberg. But that also means that you don't have the customizer now. Yep, that's the big deal with WordPress 5.9, that you will lose access to the customizer if you update to WordPress 5.9. Now, there's a catch here. The new editor, which you see right here, which we'll explore in a second, only works with block-based themes. That means a handful of themes that are built for the WordPress 5.9 experience, only they will need or use this new editor. But if you use an old theme, other theme, or let's say you use the Astra theme right now, it will still show up with the customizer. So it's not something that every theme will have this experience. Only the themes that support it will use this new editor experience. But that's a kind of like a big, I'd say, consideration, because let's say you like this experience and you want to use it, but your theme does not support it yet. So what do? Well, technically you can't use it. And this is what I talked about in the beginning of the video. This is the confusion. If you want to use all the great new features that we'll talk about, well, you'll need to use a block-based theme. And as of the date of this recording, you have less than 40 block-based themes available in the WordPress repository. So what do? Well, you wait and watch, because we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe themes will get updated. We don't know. But right now, if you have an existing theme that is not block-based, and just to clarify, there are a variety of terminologies that are used to define a block-based theme. Some might say block theme, block-based theme, universal theme, FSE theme, all mean the same thing. A theme that supports FSE features. So if you want to use all the great new features in WordPress 5.9, you need a block-based theme. Otherwise, you will stick to the customizer for now. How will this change in the future? I do not know. But right now, let's just do a demonstration of all the interesting updates in the new editor options, and I'll just give you an idea on how it works, and then hopefully you have enough information by yourself to figure out if you want to update to a block-based theme, or if you just build a new website and you want to try it out, you're welcome to. All right. So what I'll do is go into the appearance, and I'll go into the editor, which is the new experience or technically the new customizer for block-based themes. And as I mentioned, I'm using the 2022 theme, which is the first time a block-based theme in WordPress. And this is the new, I'd say, editor. You can call it the new customizer, and you have a bunch of options here, and you can just make a lot of changes right here. Okay, so I had a little bit of a technical glitch, and I started re-recording this video, and what I was getting at was that this is the new editor experience inside WordPress 5.9. Now, you might have seen a familiar interface in 5.8 with the FSE features, but with the introduction of the new theme-based blocks, now you have a lot more options or customization power in your hands, and that makes the FSE experience a lot more pronounced, nuanced, or I'd say more powerful. And we'll get into a lot of those details, but forgive me if I don't go into too much detail or every bit of detail about everything, because the video, I want to keep it to a more reasonable length, but we will do follow-up videos on individual features. For example, the navigation block will probably have its dedicated video, and some other interesting features as well will be covered in a separate video. So make sure you subscribe to that and subscribe to our channel so you catch or don't miss of that or miss any of those videos. So coming here to the experience or the editor experience, I'll just open up the settings right here and also the list view. This is probably you are already familiar that you are actually customizing your website's template now. So if you click right here, you're actually customizing the home page of your site, and home page is made up of different parts, header, footer, and with FSE now you have the capability of editing the things that were not editable before. For example, your header. And if you click the footer, you also have the option of editing your footer right inside WordPress. And with the new FSE related blocks or the theme blocks, now you have a lot more powerful, I'd say real-time editing options right here. Let me just give you a small example. Right, say I click the WP 5.9, which was the title of this, the title of this website. And if I just go into the click here, you see I'm just editing the site title block. And what I can do is just go here and just type in WordPress. And if I click save, what I'll see is, are you ready to save? This will affect your entire site. So that means just a small bit of change here will affect the entire site. That means the site title, I just change it right here by clicking this button or changing the site title block. And this will, of course, affect my entire site because this is the interface where I'm editing my entire website. And this is the powerful feature or just one of the glimpses of how you can start editing your entire website right inside the block editor or this editor experience. And the same goes for the navigation block as well. The navigation block is replacement for the menu options in 5.8. For example, you see appearance, menus. You don't see that in 5.9. And anything you want to change in the menu is done through the navigation block. So if I click the navigation block, I see all these options right here. I have the justification options, which I also showed you in the buttons. I have the orientation options. I can make sure or I can optimize or customize that. Okay, I just want the hamburger menu always. I have their options as well. So plenty of options. And even inside the navigation block, I can now add pages right here from this interface. And I can also add the search box, social icon, site logo right here in the navigation block. And once I make this change, this will affect my entire website wherever this menu is used. And this is one of the big things. For example, I just click the button and you see the custom link was added here. And because I have this option right here, I can actually remove this custom link right here. So this is one easy way now you can start making changes to your website. And of course, this is just the home page. So any post type you have, maybe you have the blog post feed, you have the archive page, any pages you have on your site, you can start customizing and adding more details. For example, let's say you want to customize the blog archive page, you will have the query loop there. You can customize and just everything can be done inside the 5.9 interface. Of course, only with block themes as of now. And you also have some interesting improvements, or I'd say user experience improvements, which I'll talk about. So let's say if I click here, you see the home option. Oops, sorry, just give me a second. All right. So as I was saying that now if I click the header, you see that I'm editing this header, which is named header dark small, because you can save different kinds of headers and just replace them on the fly, which I'll talk about maybe in a future video, a little bit detail that I don't want to get into right now. But if I right click or I say click the three-dotted menu right here, there's a new interesting editing option right here, which is edit header small dark. And if I click this, I go into a dedicated interface where I'm just editing the header. And this goes for all kinds of template paths. Let's say you want to just customize the query loop, which I haven't tested right now, but I believe that you'll be able to edit separate template paths in this interface. And the best part is that you can actually just move things around like this and see how it will look like on different kinds of screens. And once you've made any changes to the header, just save your changes or go back, and now you'll see the entire interface right here. So this is mostly the building blocks of FSE. And of course, I assume that more and more features will be coming to WordPress as things or as time passes by. All right, I had another technical glitch and I'm re-recording a certain segment of this video. And what I was talking about was the styles tab, or the styles option, and the new workflows that it will introduce in WordPress 5.9 and hopefully beyond. Right. So inside the editor interface, which you can see right here on the screen, the styles can be accessed by clicking this button right here. And what are styles? Before I get into it, let me try to explain this in the easiest way possible. And the easiest way I can explain styles is, think of it as bringing global styles to WordPress. So global typography, global colors, and some other options which I'll talk about. So let's open it up and see what the options are. So if I click the styles option right here, it brings a bunch of different, I'd say, options right here. And you can see it's still in beta, so I expect glitches, expect features to be updated with future versions. And what I'll do is just give you the WordPress's description of it by just clicking right here and enabling the welcome guide for you. So welcome to styles. Tweak your site or give it a whole look. Get creative. How about a new color palette for your buttons or choosing a new font? Take a look at what you can do here. So I'll just let you read through the screens or what the actual description of WordPress's styles options are. And then we can get into the options right here once again. All right. So I already went through this, and the three major options which you can see right here is typography, colors, layout, and the most important one, I believe, is this, which we'll talk about once we cover them individually. So let's start with typography. So what does typography does? Typography lets you customize the typography of your website, but in a global manner. So if I go into, let's say, the text options right here, I actually changed this setting one before I was recording, and my camera glitched. So it was actually at the default options, and you can see as I changed it to the system font, it actually changed the font quickly right here. If I go to sans serif again here, you can see the font is actually changing on my site. And if I go into the links option, the same thing will happen. So what you can do is customize the typography throughout your website using just these styles options right here. Same thing applies for colors. So let me go into the colors, and here in the colors, you have a few different options. You have the choice of customizing palettes, and you have the choices of the elements. So in the palettes, when I was showing off the 5.9 options, I mentioned that the color interface was a little bit different. So these are the options that you'll see. So of course, you have solid options and gradients. I'll talk about that in a second. You have theme colors, you have default colors, and you have custom colors. So whenever you start using WordPress 5.9 block-based themes, technically you will have three sets of colors that you will be seeing, or you will have options to access. One is the theme colors that the theme will be able to add. I'm assuming themes will be able to add more than one default palette in the future. That's my assumption. You have the default color palettes, which you can actually customize. And you can customize theme colors as well, technically. And you can add your custom colors as well. So if you just click this plus icon, it'll add a new color. You can define whatever color you want. You can name the color and just keep repeating this. And what I tried when I was just testing this out, add like 60, 70 different colors. So there's technically no limit right now, or what I think so is the number of custom colors you can save. And these custom colors actually show up when you make changes. For example, if you change or you want to change, let's say, I'll try it right now. I'm not sure if it works here. If I click right here, and let's say I go to the header and I want to change the background color right here, let's see if it actually works. So if I go to header, let's see the options right here. And if I go to color, you can see the custom color that I defined here is now accessible here. So whenever you customize any of the portions of your website, you'll see all the colors that are defined. So colors by the theme, the default color palette, and your custom colors everywhere. So it makes it very easy for you to make the same changes to your website quickly, and I say in a consistent manner. Going back to styles, the color option is what you see here, which we're talking about. Again, I'll just delete this option, or just delete this color right here. I'll edit the colors, and I'll say remove all colors. So I can remove all the colors right now. And the same also applies for gradients. You can define your own gradients. You have theme gradients, and then you have custom gradients. And gradients, as you probably see, I've talked about in WordPress 5.8, the duotone filters can use the custom, I'd say, gradients that you specify. So it's worth taking the time and defining your own gradients if you use them consistently throughout your website. And that's the color options. And then you have the layout options. So layout options is pretty small right now. You just have the padding options. So I assume this will define the global padding. And if you click this button right here, nothing else. So I'm assuming this will be improved upon in the future. But again, setting global spacing or maybe global padding, global margins, pretty easy and pretty, I'd say, neat stuff when it comes to designing websites, right? So all three are covered. And the most important part is this option, which is customizing the appearance of specific blocks for the whole site. I think this is the game-changing feature inside WordPress. And what it will let you do is go to the blocks options and define the styling of any block that you're using on your site, and will change throughout your website. So let's say I'm choosing the paragraph block. So for the paragraph block, I can change the typography or the colors, and then the entire website, everywhere the paragraph block is used, it'll be changed throughout my website. And I'm assuming, and if I read the documentation correctly, themes will be able to set these default, I'd say, styles for blocks, and even multiple styles per block. So let's say if you install a theme, it can add 5 types of buttons, 3 types of paragraphs, 10 different types of images, headings, and all these different stylings. And then you can just quickly swap those around. And anywhere you make the changes, let's say you want to make a little bit of change to the paragraph block, your entire website will be updated instantly. This is amazing stuff, but unfortunately right now only available with the block themes, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And I'd say we have covered most of the important things. There are few other details as well. Definitely, if you go right here, you have the template and template paths option. So just let me quickly go through this as well. So in the templates option, you can see all the different pages or template page type templates that you have on your site registered by different themes. Right now I'm using the 2022 theme. So you have the 404 page, you have the archive page, all added by the 2022 theme. And template paths is also an interesting development here. So what I assume is how it works is that you can have parts of a template defined, and then a template can use those parts. For example, when you were editing the site option right here, we saw we had the header dark small, which if you see the options right here, it's actually, if I click right here, so you have detached blocks from template part. So technically this header dark small is part of a bigger template part, so which can be reused or maybe redesigned, quickly designed. So I'm assuming this will bring improved workflows in the future on how easy it will be to maybe change styles across multiple elements. And this is where you will be able to see all these options. So we can see template paths right here. We have the header, which is added by the 2022 theme. We have the footer, the header, or 3 different types of headers. And these are template paths, which can be part of templates. So hierarchy, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll explore more on what the specifications are, how it works. But definitely, this gives us more clarity on how FSE will work with block-based themes in the future. Now, I have covered almost everything, or I say everything that I needed to talk about in WordPress 5.9 with respect to the new improvements, the features, and also the FSE features. But again, just reminding you of 2 important differences. You cannot use these amazing features or FSE features, whether you think they're amazing or not, with or themes that do not support the block-based layout, or themes that are not block-based or not universal themes. And I'd say this feature is still, it's not half-baked, I'd say, but it's still not 100% up to speed. Just giving you a small example, let's say you want to add the Fev icon on your website when you're using this interface. How do you do that? Well, technically you can't right now because that's not part of the feature set. So again, more interesting things will happen, but should you update to WordPress 5.9? That's the big question. I'm assuming you're waiting around for the end of the video for that important question. So you can update to WordPress 5.9, but you cannot take advantage unless you're building a brand new site or you switch to a blog-based theme. You cannot take advantage of all these new features. And what I'd say is whenever there is a major update to WordPress, it's always a good idea to wait for a few weeks for some bug fixes to happen for all your themes, existing themes, plugins, and any custom functionality that you've written to be compatible with the new version. So if WordPress 5.9, or I'm assuming WordPress 5.9 comes out on 25th of January, you should not update on the same day. Just wait for a few weeks, maybe wait for a few bug fixes, wait for all the corresponding elements of your website to be updated, and only then update to WordPress 5.9. But I am excited for this new development, new direction, and I'm assuming that we'll see more exciting things from WordPress in the future. And that's it for this video. You were watching and listening to Yuvraj from the Brainstorm Force team. If you enjoyed all this content and all this education I gave you about WordPress, make sure to hit the thumbs up. It encourages me and the entire team to create some good content. And make sure you subscribe so that you do not miss future videos that we publish on the channel. And I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, stay safe, and have fun.